Good morning, YouTubers, and welcome to a housing update. It's been a while since I did a Canadian housing update because we've been following so much what's happening down in America with Amerifornia. And a lot of Americans are starting to wake up to a very big, rude awakening. Anyways, all right, so what is happening? Well, I'll give you an inside scoop from a banker out in Newfoundland. Messaged me and emailed me to let me know that a lot of banks in Canada will start to cancel second mortgages, Helocks. Some are debating. Why? Because housing keeps going up and people are living off their homes and using them as ATM machines. We've been saying that on here for like 5 years now. Back in 2015, 2016, and 2017, people were using their homes as ATM machines. And now, like, banks are looking at this, like Wells Fargo shut down lines of credit and stuff because they were in fear that it would be a copycat, or people will copy what people in Canada did, live beyond their means. Let's face it, a lot of people don't know how to manage their money, don't know how to manage their debt. And I mean, we call a spade a spade. My dad was great at managing his finances, you know. My family was great at managing their finances, but and saving and stuff and doing the right things, right? But that's a little inside scooper that's going on right now. So keep an eye out, and they may be calling in full payments on second mortgages and Helocks and third mortgages. So they might close the mortgage or line of credit off and actually demand payment in full. So that's going to force people to sell their homes, take the equity out, and then pay out whatever they can, and most people will be walking away with nothing. So watch out, guys. Keep an eye out for that. Okay, so we got better dwelling articles here, and it's really good. Canadian real estate prices are 19% are up 19%. Average price hits $734 in June. Okay, guys. So people watching this in the States, this is $734 for an average, just something average. We're not looking at like a mansion or something. No, this is $734 for an average wage earner home. Usually these are like starter homes to get into the markets, and this is a benchmark price. Canadian real estate prices are rising at a bare neck speed, even with slowing sales. The RPS House Price Index made a huge leap in June for almost all markets. It didn't even matter where. Even small towns have begun to outperform big cities. Let's dive into a frothy month in Canada just had. So there it is right there, guys. The reason why, I'm going to tell you why. A lot of it has to do with a lot of these corporations buying up homes, and a lot of foreign investing, and a lot of money laundering. In Canada, it's called money placement. In Australia, it's money laundering. And some of the biggest banks in Australia have been caught with 20 to 30 million breaches. Money laundering breaches, 20-30 million laundering breaches, not $20-30 million. So in Canada, they have money placement. So if you have money you need to get out of China or out of countries that's basic or illegal money, or Canada does money placement. You can look it up on how it works in Canada if you're looking to move money here to reinvest it into real estate and basically outstrip the locals. And savings is mostly held by the rich and won't be spent. So what are they saying? Well, Canadians have an epic pile of savings accumulation, but it's not as big as most economists think. Oxford economist Tony Stillo took a deep dive into household savings rate this week. The firm from the gross numbers exaggerated the total and can actually be used. Further, wealthier households represent more. So there it is. I wanted to throw that out there. You could check out the full article there on Better Dwelling. And the reason why I want to put this out there is because we read an article, I don't know, a year and a half ago, 2 years before, well, okay, let's say 3 months or 4 months before COVID, where basically Canadians are $200 away from being homeless. Not from missing a rent payment, not from homeless, okay? $200. But look at this massive convenience of COVID stepping in, right? Canadian property bubble braces for a brain drain as half of Ontario youth consider moving. We've done brain drain videos on this channel going back to 2012. We did a Sydney brain drain. Toronto, no, Vancouver brain drain. Toronto wasn't affected because the foreign buyer's tax wasn't put in. We did California brain drain back in the early 2000s on this channel. I don't even know if those videos are still up, but we did it. We discussed the brain drain. It's a real thing. A lot of youth, a lot of our nurses are being headhunted down to move to Florida, down to move to North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. A lot of our nurses are being headhunted. A lot of our I guess, important people of importance. A lot of trade work too. Trade workers, plumbers. You know, it's almost impossible to get a plumber nowadays. Almost impossible. Why? Because a lot of them move, hey, I'm going to move to Georgia with my van and just continue fixing plumbing and doing plumbing in Georgia now. I could start advertising on Facebook for $5 a day, and I could bring my tools in my truck, and I could sleep in my truck. So there's a lot of professionals. Like transmission rebuilders. I heard there's a huge lack of them. I used to be a transmission rebuilder out of high school. That's what I used to do, automatic transmissions. I used to rebuild them. Never touched the car, I touched the transmission. Had a bench, took them apart, resealed it, rebuilt it. That's what I did for my early years, right? So this is a big. So the Canadian property bubble is at a point where it's about to produce brain drain, at least in Ontario. Abacus Data conducted a survey on housing. Prescriptions recently. Is that prescriptions? Perceptions recently. Sorry guys, it's kind of warm out here and my eyes are starting to blur up. I know that's not a good enough reason that I can't read, but no. Housing perceptions recently. The survey commissioned by the OREA produced dozens of insights showing public frustration by a property bubble. Buried amongst those insights, though, was a big standout. Now, what's the biggest standout for people moving and leaving? It's because people just can't afford to live where they are, and people can't afford to live and raise a family in a place where basically born and raised and educated in, let's get that straight, and can't afford to live anymore. And it's gotten to that point where people are sleeping and living in vehicles. There's an article out there, you can look it up. It says that Vancouver now deems affordable housing at $3,400 a month. That's affordable housing. But you're probably wondering, how is $3,400 a month affordable housing? Like, that's deemed for affordable. You know why? It's because the doctors and professionals could apply for affordable housing. People making over $100,000 a year could apply for affordable housing. So the people, you need to make over 100 and something thousand a year to apply for affordable housing so that you can stay within the city limits, so you don't have to commute 2-3 hours every day, right? So that's what they were doing, and that was a very bad scheme, because a lot of people that need affordable housing weren't getting it, because but those people are important too, because a lot of those people contribute to the infrastructure, whether they're working at the gas station or wherever they're doing. Those people are still needed to keep the infrastructure moving forward, right? So that's what a lot of people aren't understanding. It's like, oh, we're going to deem affordable housing $3,000 a month. So then when people apply for affordable housing, it would be basically doctors, surgeons, and people that we could keep in the city, because they were leaving left, right, and center. And people applied with six-figure incomes for affordable housing. And people in California, too, are applying for that with six-figure incomes because they can't afford to eat. It's gotten so bad even in Australia before COVID, because everyone's going to say, oh, Mike, COVID did. No. Before COVID, a lot of people in Australia, their banks were giving them food bank vouchers so they don't fall behind on their mortgage payments, because they were falling behind in 2019 on their mortgage payments. But then COVID came in and saved the day, right? 1 in 5 boomers have children living at home. Higher in Toronto and Vancouver. Of course. We have, eight major cities in Canada? And 2 of them, people have to live with their parents. So here it goes. More adults are living with their parents, and it may be due to high home prices. The Royal LePage 2021 Boomers Survey, it's a thing, found 1 in 5 boomers have kids at home currently. Breaking that number down, over half of those are adults 25 and older. A significant number of these boomers said Our kids are moving back in with us. We talked about this in 2016 on the channel. We called them boomerangers. The term never took off. I hope Amerifornia takes off. But the term boomerangers, I call them boomerangers because they go back to the boomers, boomerangers. And we were talking about boomerangers and how kids in their 20s and 30s are moving back with their parents because they can't afford to eat. Yeah, and people are thinking, and then the boomers are thinking, well, you should stop going to clubs and eating out. And they're like, a lot of them aren't. They just can't afford to eat because the cost of living is just too damn high. Lumber is still crashing and has now wiped out almost all of its 2021 gains. There you go, folks. Lumber is on its way. It's on its way back to normal levels. Lumber prices are still crashing, marking the 9th consecutive week of declines. The cost of the commodity has seen more than a quarter of its value fall in the past month. Since the peak it's reached just over 2 months ago, prices are now down more than half as much as they have fallen. That's a crash. Anything that goes down more than half, you're experiencing a crash in that commodity. So that's what's happening with lumber. Canadian investment in home building makes the sharpest drop since 2020. Well, again, it's getting harder and harder and too much red tape. It's not locals. It's a lot of investment firms, a lot of them with numbered companies out of Shanghai that are just building these big, like, cul-de-sacs and stuff. Canadian National Statistics Agency delivered another measurement pointing to housing chill. Statistics Canada StatsCan data shows investment in building fell in May. The drop was due entirely to residential investment, which was cut from the record high. Even with a substantial cut, investments in home building is above historic levels. So there it is. So you can get all these reports on betterdwelling.com. And we've been reading reports off these guys for what, 6 years since I found them. And if you want really good, if you're in Canada and you want really good updates, do that. So here's the problem, guys. They're thinking about removing lines of credit or canceling lines of credit, or not issuing any more lines of credit in Canada. So watch out with that. If you're living off your home as an ATM, please watch out for that, because a lot of people have been living high on the hog, living off their home equity, right? Some homes, like in Kelowna, BC, not too far from me, if somebody bought a home in 2017, their home is making them about $700-800 an hour. So people are looking, why should I even work? Just buy a piece of real estate and live off the equity. Now banks are starting to touch in on that, and if they do raise interest rates, which they should have raised interest rates back in 2010. They should have raised them in 2014. They should have raised them in 2017, and they should have raised them. And we're not talking about, they adjusted it a quarter thousandth of a percent. No, they need to raise interest rates 2, 3, 4% to adjust to hedge against the inflation that's coming. Once you start playing with the interest rates and actually creating like what Ronald Reagan did. Well, Ronald Reagan really saved his country for 10, 20 years when they pretty much raised interest rates back in the day to like 12, 13, 14, 16%. But he saved. America was saved for 10, 20 years when they did that, believe it or not. A lot of people are thinking, what are you talking about, Mike? Yeah, it did. It actually wiped out a lot of the garbage that was floating out there, that garbage wealth. I like to call it garbage wealth that's just on paper that could easily flush down a toilet. Anyways, guys, I look forward to reading your comments below. Share this video. Look at some of our older videos that go back 5, 6, 7 years, where we're discussing this situation in great depth. Don't forget to subscribe to our live stream channel. We have a live stream channel where we live stream our financial show and Mike in the Night. Looking forward to reading your comments. Don't forget to follow me or find my store at mtg.toys, Merit Toys and Games. I sell board games. Make it a board game night with the family. Get off the electronics. mtg.toys with 600 plus board games for sale. Thank you, guys. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll see each other on the next video.